Hi, my name is Riha and we're Team Campus Life. And today we're going to be walking through how we designed a solution for a problem that many of you may have faced during your time at OSU. So what is this problem? Well, while we were brainstorming issues we have on campus, we couldn't help but keep circling back to the topic of study rooms. We found that oftentimes it's extremely difficult to find empty rooms when you need them. So at that moment, we decided that we wanted to find a solution to the lack of empty study spaces on campus. To start gaining insights on our problem, our team drafted up some survey questions specifically asking the students' demographics, study habits, and how they use different spaces to study. We created a survey using the software Qualtrics to distribute around campus. We created posters with a QR code to the survey to hang around buildings and also posted a link to the OSU subreddit to gain as many responses as possible. In the end, we were able to reach 70 total responses on our survey. On top of that, we interviewed 4 people on how they use study spaces and what their study habits are. And now, what were the results? We found that out of all available study spaces on campus, study rooms were the least utilized by individuals alongside dorm common areas. But when they were used by individual students, they were mostly used for Zoom meetings. This is especially interesting because the use of Zoom has only been popularized in recent years, meaning that most, if not all, study rooms were not built to handle this recent shift in their users' needs. To dig deeper into this, we asked students about their experience finding a location for Zoom meetings. Though many of them felt more neutral about it, 31.4% of respondents agreed that this was an overall bad experience. Another interesting fact is that though both the Buckeye Link, Room Matrix, and room reservation system exists to book rooms, most of the people interviewed did not use it, saying that they could just as easily walk in and use an empty study room if they saw it. This was a common sentiment on the survey as well, if they even knew what they were. Our survey shows that for both systems, only around half of respondents had used them to book a room, and if they had used it, on average, they rated the user experience a 5 out of 10. This highlights that though the websites exist, they are widely unknown and unhelpful. To gain more precise insights, we added an open response box on our survey for participants to give their feedbacks on the study room. Here's what they had to say. Room reservation fills up way too fast. Room matrix is okay, but clunky. The room matrix should be more user-friendly and be more mobile phone friendly. And finally, there are not enough study rooms. I can never reserve one because they're usually all booked out. I would love more individual study spaces so I don't feel so bad taking up the whole room. And to hit it home, we have a user journey map that highlights the clear highs and lows of booking a study room. And as illustrated by the sad face and dramatic dip, it is clear that the worst part of using the study rooms is finding a space. To sum everything up, we made a short list of some of the most interesting trends, which all point to the fact that the current study rooms are hard to access, which keep people from using them. Instead, people would prefer to study in their personal spaces, libraries, or empty classrooms. Alongside that, many study rooms are made for groups to meet, and while that is useful to some, individuals who have more online and Zoom classes may not find the current spaces accommodating to their needs. This is all to say that the buildings, rooms, and classrooms at Ohio State were not built to accommodate distance learning, and finding a way to make up for that can make study rooms on campus more usable. And finally, though there were many organized ways to find spaces on campus, the room reservation systems are not widely known and difficult to maneuver, making study rooms a less than popular study space. Now I'll hand it over to Devin, who will explain how we defined our problem in week 2.
Thanks, Ria. Yeah, I'm Devin, and I'll be talking about our define phase. So for our define phase, we all came in with our framing cards. Each member made a framing card so that we would have something to start talking about when we first met for this phase. And when we made our framing cards, we realized how big our problem was, and we really struggled to come up with a concise need statement and problem statement. So what we ended up doing was we ended up bouncing back and forth between our ideate phase and our define phase. And this really helped us create our needs statement. So we would come up with some ideas, and then we'd jump back to the needs and the problem, and then we'd make some more ideas, and this went back and forth. And what we ended up coming up with was a need statement for 2 solution spaces. This was kind of our aha moment, was realizing that we had 2 solutions that we wanted to work towards, and they both had their own specific needs. So the first solution space was for the room reservation system and the matrix that we wanted to integrate. And the other needs were for the study rooms, because we wanted to offload some of the traffic to the group rooms and create new spaces for virtual meetings. And what we ended up doing was taking all of that, our framing cards, our survey feedback, and our interview feedback. And we condensed it all and created this problem statement. And with that problem statement, we were able to move forward and create some more concise ideas. So next I'm going to give it to Cecilia, and she's going to talk about our ideation phase.
Thanks, Devin. So as Devin mentioned, now we're going to talk about ideation. So first for ideation, we brainstormed. We came up with a bunch of creative ideas and just kind of threw anything and everything out there. And this really helped us to see what the path was that we were headed down in terms of our solution and the problem that we were trying to solve. So a lot of the ideas that we came up with brainstorming are going to be part of our final solution. It was a really helpful tool for us to use and helped us to define our solution and then also come up with some cool ideas that we integrated into our solution. Next, we went to worst possible solution. This really helped us flesh out the problems that our solution needs to solve. So it really helped us figure out that list of needs. And no matter how big or small the needs were, it just helped us to identify them. And we probably wouldn't have been able to, or it would have been difficult to otherwise. With analogies, that was the next tool that we used. It wasn't that helpful to us, but it did lead to some ideas that we then added back to our brainstorming process. So we went back to that. And so it wasn't the most helpful, but it still gave us a couple more ideas. Lastly, we went into research to see what other campuses were doing in terms of both their room reservation system and the reservable rooms that they have available. We looked at bigger campuses so that it was comparable to OSU and the demand that they have for these rooms. And we found both some really cool ideas, but also we saw that there were some ideas that were similar to what we had. So it kind of reinforced our ideas for that and helped us see that we were going down the right path, but also introduced some cool new ideas to us that helped us with coming up with more ideas and adding that to our final solution. So next, I'm gonna pass it over to Jenna to talk about our prototyping and testing phases.
Yeah, thanks, Cecilia. So moving from the ideation phase, week 3, we were in the prototype phase where we began to design not only what we wanted the website interface to look like, but also the study rooms themselves. So with the website, we combined both the room reservation and the empty classroom matrix. That way it's all in one location, super easy to access, whether that's on the OSU mobile app or on the Buckeye Link desktop. So from there, we made a decision tree that laid out what the possible outcomes based off your decisions would be on the website and what that could look like. We mocked up a interface of the desktop. And so from here, you're really choosing between reserving a room or just finding an empty classroom on campus. So if you reserve a room, you're going to choose between individual study space or group study space. And both of them follow a similar path. Same with an empty classroom. The main difference is that with the group space, you're going to have to enter the amount of people and their name.number. So when you check in to confirm that you're actually there, any member from the group can do so. We had to do this to prevent people from misusing their reserved time because it's always in high demand and we really want it to be efficient and clean. So from there, you can filter out different locations, different buildings, different times. And then you're going to see a visual calendar. That way you can visibly see the daily availability and the times that are reserved, that are open, etc. And the mobile app is going to follow a really similar pattern. That way it's the familiarity between either of the two can be carried on both the mobile and the desktop. So from there, the study rooms themselves, we took a look at all of the needs we discussed in the define phase and designed a room that accommodated them all, such as whiteboard usage, desk size, seating. And initially we glossed over accessibility as a need, but we came to find that it's a really big issue for individuals in wheelchairs. So we made sure that based off of measurements and regulations, the spaces were comfortable for all people in both the smaller individual group spaces, the smaller individual study spaces, but also the group rooms. So once we created this really cool new system, before we discovered that not that many people know about the matrix to begin with. So super simple solution for this. We drafted up a pamphlet that could be handed out during college visits or at orientation to get people aware of this really helpful tool that's available for them that they just might not know about. So after all of this designing, week 4, we moved into the test phase where we pushed our design back out to students to get their feedback. Initially, there were some issues with the color coding system. It was a bit confusing about what color meant what, but also we found that some people didn't really like the idea of having to enter all the group members' names for the group study, but they really liked the separation between the group study rooms and the individual study rooms and the differences between those two. And they also were able to really grasp onto the idea of the super simple, really guided interface of the website. So you're welcome to ask any questions you might have. We would love to hear your feedback, and thank you guys for your time.